I wanted to start this week with something a little bit different, right? Because we've had a lot of political turmoil. We have a lot of people really, really upset about, the election and inauguration and things that have gone on, not only in our political system in the United States, but also in the UK. A lot of stuff going on in Russia, a lot of stuff going on in China. We've heard a lot about Israel and bad people and good people. And I just kind of wanted to refocus you just for a second. And we tend to have, as a society or as a race, right, the human race, we tend to have political addiction, meaning, we see these people in big houses and, you know, we're watching everything they're doing, hitting refresh, looking for speeches, looking for this, picking everything apart, including us often. But really, I want you to start thinking about why we need governance. Okay, we're all intelligent, creative people in this world, right? There's 8 billion of us, and we're all special in our own way. And we have so much to bring to the table to further humanity, right? So we get so focused on Trump or Biden or Boris Johnson, what's he saying, and everybody else. We forgot that we really, as adults, we really don't need people to govern us, right? In the traditional form. We've gone for millennia after millennia of kings and queens and Solomons and the tales of this and the line of that and who's related to who and so on and so forth. And this supposedly makes us a better human, right? Because you wear some kind of a garb, big pointy hat and, Vatican City or whatever it is, right? We're always looking for other people, both for faults, right? And for things that they're all doing wrong and for things that they're all doing right.
Right.
And we always tend to have that savior syndrome, right? Which goes along with political addiction because we all like to sit at home, not all of us, because please don't take offense to that, but a lot of us like to sit at home and wait for someone else to do it, right? And then we want to complain about it, that it wasn't done right.
Very true. Happens every day.
So, yeah, I'm looking at, Biden's likes and dislikes and more dislikes, and everybody's talking about it, and everybody's talking about what's happening here and what's happening there. And, the media is often distorted. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But, where are you? We've given you Life Force as a platform, right? It's all it is a platform. It's not my platform. It's not Tank's platform. It's not Speak Project's platform. It's your platform. We created an entire news channel, spent thousands and thousands of dollars to put everything together for you, and no one's reporting. Where are you? Ava's reached out. She's got about, I think she's got several people on her. You can reach out to her at Ava Cowan, COWANUNN on Telegram, and join the Citizen Reporter team. She will help you along. Get your and Tang's so busy with everything he's doing, and I'm so busy with everything I'm doing. But she's volunteered her time to reach out to all of you globally to report what's really going on. Okay, so it's important that you step up to do that, not only for your wishes and what's going on in your communities, but also you're reaching out to other people in other communities and you're talking about things you need, whether it's a technology or water shortages or how to start a farm or agricultural or other forms of fuel. I mean, there's so much creativity that is going on in the world today and has been suppressed. It's so important that you reach out to people with not only your needs, but also things you can bring to the table and bring to everyone else. United Network also is for instances such as the media and social media and everybody's ablaze with, as an example, these protests, massive protests, and Moscow's on fire. And then you go to the Earth webcam live and it's a ghost town. There's nobody home. Where are our Russian citizen reporters telling us that This isn't true. This isn't going on in Moscow. This isn't really happening, right?
Right.
Officially, to tell people the truth. It's supposed to be real news by real people, right? So everybody hates fake media. Okay, well, create your own. We put it here for you, not for us, for you. So please don't forget that. Next, I did join the assembly call, New York assembly call, which was full of a lot of people from a lot of assemblies, not only in the United States, but around the world. And we had a discussion about some new possibilities that have come up, and I'll explain to you why. But the most important thing I could task you with this week is deciding how you want, and I hate to use the word political, how you want the world to communicate with each other and how you want us to live. You know, we're so focused on, oh, the Constitution, restore the Republic. You've never even seen the original Constitution. It was hidden away by the Templars days within the time it was written, and then they threw out a version for the rest of us to see. And then there's an internet version which doesn't look like the other version, and nobody's figured that out yet. So the Constitution talks about how the government is run, right? Governing people, that's what it talks about.
Right.
So no matter what, if you were the president tomorrow, anyone listening to this call, if you were the president tomorrow, right, you're still going to be loved and hated, no matter what you do. You wore the wrong suit, you wore the wrong dress, you talked to somebody so-and-so when you were a kid in grade school, and, I mean, it just goes on and on and on, right? That's what it means to be a public figure. So I'm asking you the following question. So number one, in my opinion, this is my opinion, doesn't have to be yours. I believe the Bill of Rights in the United States is more important than the Constitution. Now, I believe that because that talks about what I can and cannot do personally, right? So maybe that's a focus for the assemblies here in the States. And I also want to put a couple other thoughts into your mind today. So what if we didn't have a government? Do we need a government? Do we want a president? Do we not want a president? This is your world to create now. We're paving the path for you. We're not paving it for ourselves so we can be the king or king and queen of the world on here. We're doing this for you. So I want you to take for a minute and scrap everything you've learned about government and governance, right? And start thinking about what a world would be like if we governed ourselves. And I hate even using the word govern, right? Because we don't need it. We're adults. We know what we're supposed to do every day, right? And we know what our communities need at the community level. And then the community level comes together on a state or provincial level. And then the provincial and state level gets together on a national level. And then you're getting together on a global level. And it might not always be the same people that go from the community level. Say it's something to do with health and wellness. And you want to bring that up on a state level, right? So you're going to send the person that knows the most about that particular thing from your local council. We have everybody vote on whether or not there should be more trees in the park. Put it up on a site, do some polling, right? Give people an opportunity to say whether they want trees in the park or not. Yes, we do have to have some things like protection, right? We need to have some kind of an enforcement. Otherwise the world goes crazy, right? Or we need to have some kind of military. We need to have some kind of Coast Guard, probably, we need to have certain things. But who are these people? Who's going to train them? What kind of training do they need? What kind of laws are they supposed to follow? And what are they supposed to enforce? Have we ever taken a look at the laws? Have you ever gone to the statute section of your state? I mean, really, not only is it a bore fest, number one, it repeats the same thing. The cat is black. Black is the color of the cat. All black cats have to go, and curfew of 6 p.m. Or something crazy, right? 6 p.m. is the time of curfew. And then it just goes on and on and on. we were supposed to have in the United States, okay, at least I can only speak for the United States. I can't speak for every country in the world, but we were supposed to have laws that were no longer than 2 pages and written in 5th grade English so everyone could understand. I don't need your legal mumbo jumbo. I need to know. On Tuesday, everybody wears a green shirt. Okay, I know what that means, right? You know what that means. So
That's it. It's law. It's law from now on. Make it happen.
I look terrible in green, so it's probably not for me. But maybe we could pick another color, you know, like periwinkle. No, I'm just kidding. So the point is I want you to start thinking out of the box when it comes to your legal system, because there's going to come a point in the very near future where it just might be yours to create. Not only here in the States, but globally. As far as I'm concerned, this way of electing officials, and then they go about making decisions on our behalf. I don't need parents, right? Do you need parents, Tank? Do you need someone to parent you, to make decisions for you at your age?
Certainly not, and definitely not this cluster F of awful that is running the government. To their decisions that they make are like, let me take everything you have. And that's basically what they do, right? There's every decision that's been made governs us, suppresses us, and while they kind of benefit from our labor.
They convince us we're kids and that we're going to Disneyland, but every single time we end up in some, you know, child trafficking slave pool or something. I mean, it's just hideous.
They're the worst parents ever. I mean, based on that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should be, you know, picked up by CPS and they're living their own mess.
Oh my gosh, that is a brilliant use of CPS. They can,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's pick up the bad parents. And I'm talking about global governance. You know, and then you've got this whole generational thing going on in governments too, right? You've got this thing where, you know, if your father was in politics, then your son can be in politics automatically because he has a special last name, right? And the list just goes on and on and on and on and on. So I'm encouraging you to put rules, right? Or whatever you want to call them. I hate to say rules. I hate to say government. I hate to say laws. I would say, I don't know, call it whatever you want. The unicorn principle. But principles that we all should live by. We shouldn't kill each other. That's a given, right?
Don't rape the kids. I think
don't rape kids,
don't
right?
Rape kids. Or anybody for that matter. Don't rape anybody.
Or anybody for that matter. That's right. So, but that's what? I mean, that's not even 3 sentences, right?
If you just took the core, the simplicity of the core that we all have in common, it's so simple. And you can build from there based on your personal values and ethics and what's important to you. Like, we just have to agree on things that are universal to all of us, right? We know better. We know not to steal from our neighbors, right? We know not to hurt people, like do no harm. These aren't even things we also know gravity works, right? Like, nobody has to tell you more than once. You know, just by looking over the edge of a building, right? You immediately know innately gravity works because you can feel it, right? Natural laws are a lot like that. These are natural, but there is a need to write things down, like for the record. I also think there's a really important aspect of what this government of this new age is, that we really have to focus on the spirit of the law versus the letter of the law, right? It's very easy to make laws, so if you know how to manipulate them, they always serve you, right? As in the bad guy, right? But
yeah, and you've got some person generation after generation that's by now so out of touch. I mean, look at the mess we're in now. If masks worked, here's some common sense, politicians. If masks worked, then why do we have a purported rise in numbers? Or why is there a new strain, a more deadly strain? You know, it makes no sense.
Well, because masks do work.
We should be germ-free.
Yeah, but they do work at causing secondary pneumonia. So if you understand the spin, they don't even feel guilty. It's like, masks work. This is what we had. This is what we had in mind.
It works to kill us all. Woo!
I know. Score one for the Biden is time. Biden is time.
But this is what I'm trying to say. You know, they are there and we are here. Okay. We down here need to be here constantly and consistently. You shouldn't be able to serve, or then for the next 2 generations, if your father or son or your son or grandkids or whatever want to be in that council position or whatever, they can't. Doesn't mean they're qualified or not qualified. It's just a no. Because it's not a career choice. It's not a career. It shouldn't be a career. It should be you serving your fellow community, right? And your community holding you responsible to the decisions that they made. You don't get to make a decision. You get to put it out there, right? You get to voice people's concerns in a forum, and then you get to put a vote out. That's all you get to do, you know? That's it. So I want you to start thinking that way. I want you to start getting away from the thoughts of kings and queens and presidents and prime ministers and all these people in the House of Lords. Good Lord, they're so damn old, crotchety. I don't even know how they get in the damn door. So
It's
just
entitlement.
please.
Getting away from the mentality.
And titles.
Yeah, entitlements. Having titles that put someone automatically for doing nothing different than you, not more qualified, not better, but just above you. There's nobody who's above you. Really, the leaders will naturally lead, right? It's just one of the many roles in the, in a greater machine, right? Like your liver isn't necessarily more important than your heart, right? They're both important, right? Everything plays a part in the body. And we got to look at that and realize that we're part of one body working together. So.
Right. Yeah, we haven't, there hasn't been a government for the people, by the people, even before the inception of the Republic or the United States. I would say if anything comes close to it, maybe the tribes, but even then, with the advent of the whole casino thing and everything else, they've also lost their way in that respect, at least some of the ones that are operating now, right? So that's the thought I wanted to put in your mind for this week. Do we need governance? Do you want governance? Because the world is about to change. Okay, first of all, the Space Force signed an agreement with the militaries of the world, basically saying that they were going to be in charge, right? Now, I'm going to rewind you back to March 21st, 2020, and remind you that the global militaries all agreed to global martial law, and they sat there at the terminals pushing the buttons, waiting for the money to come to fund this thing, but it was never ratified, okay? Ratifying things are important. Now, here's how the world of legalities, treaties, and laws worked. This is important for you to understand too. And it was actually kind of fun for me this week, to be honest with you.
Yes.
All right, so Crown Corporation, we know, controlled basically all the governments of the world. And by Crown Corporation, although it officially was in London, right? People will call them the world government, which they were, right? They're also located in Israel. They would be the Luciferian section of the Chabad or the Sanhedrin, right? So they're all the same people, and they're all connected in every way, and they are the same. So, okay, so these are your Khazarians, you're not real Jewish people. You've got two sides of the Chabad, spelled C-H-A-B-A-D, right? And one side is the Luciferian section that wants to bring about the Armageddon and the Savior, the Messiah from their side, right? Which is Lucifer, would be the Messiah in their world. And you have the other side that are actually very good people. They do a lot of good things around the world, and they're considered of the, I would say, the very loyal followers of the
Torah.
Jewish, the Torah, right? So
okay, wait. So Ken, hold your thought there, because you just said a whole bunch of stuff. Although we think it's something that we should be proud of as Americans, it's actually subject to Crown Corp, right? Which everybody's heard of, the Crown, right?
Everybody is. any law, any this, any that, you name it, it's all subject to Crown Corporation. So in London, there is a place called the Hall of Records. So let's say, as an example, because this is actually going to be pertinent and we'll go over it again just to explain it, okay? So in the United States, we have a Library of Congress, right? And Library of Congress holds all our laws. And we know that there's secret sections. If you haven't seen it, the movie National Treasure talks about it. They talk about the Red Book. Where's the Red Book, the presidential book? I actually have it. But the point is that there's all the laws, everything goes into the Library of Congress. That's why we do we gazette a public notification when we're ratifying an assembly, right? And so it's kind of like a loophole on how to get you into the Library of Congress sort of thing, right? It's ratified automatically when it's registered in there. So let's talk about the archives. Okay, so we have someone we know called the archivist, and his job is to take every treaty the United States signs, every agreement, every executive order, right? Every time a new president is inaugurated, he takes that information that's provided to him, he double checks it, makes sure everything is very clear, concise, and on target, right? No spell check, everything. And then he sends it off to the Hall of Records for ratification. Well, turns out that somehow is now connected directly to my system and no longer connected to the Sanhedrin or the Chabad. Every government, every country, everywhere, every law, every executive order, every change to any constitution or, the agreement for communism to the head of state would always have to be approved by these people, but it's not connected to them anymore. So that's good news, right? For us.
Yeah.
Right. So now we get to make some serious decisions, right?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, we did this week. We did. So we're watching. So I didn't find this out till like literally the day before the inauguration. So let's go back to the Space Force and what their plan was, right? So they were so arrogant because they're awfully arrogant. Even the military doesn't like them, right? So they were so arrogant, they told everybody in the world what plan they had. I mean, it was all over the back chatter lines, everything they were going to do, how they were going to do it, and how they were going to declare martial law, and how great they're going to be, and how wonderful this is, and everything else, right? So this goes into the rest of what, oh, sorry about that, guys. This goes into what the rest of what happened this week. So, okay, so they had a plan to basically blow up the Capitol building, and also these they look like missile launchers, ICBMs, long-range missiles off the coast of California, and they had the Tennessee, Georgia situation, and a few things off the coast on the East Coast. So they were going to, and they already had pre-installed something to detonate in the Capitol building that was actually found, let's just say, by Life Force Enforcement and notified the FBI and so on and so forth. And there are some good people around, that didn't want to see that happen. Those people were not on the platform anyway. That was all pre-recorded. They all knew this was going to happen. They had already prepared everything. They were going to record it, splice and dice, right?
There's an example of some of that. Well, this is the U.S. Air Force one, but there's similar things to this. Sorry, Ken, go ahead.
So they were going to label all these things Chinese. That was the plan, right? So we're going to start a hot war with China, and we're going to now implement martial law. So let's say, hot, yeah, in the city, right? So, okay, so they were putting our troops in danger, right? That were in Washington. That's why they were all ushered in there and everything. We're going to cause a major, So this was already taken care of before the inauguration, right? So Life Force and oh god, that's scary. Life Force and Life Force Enforcement had already taken care of the majority of these issues. There was a lot of EMPs and a number of different things to prevent remote detonation and stuff that took place the day prior, right? So we all got on this our call that we do every morning, and we watched the inauguration, and I am laughing. I am glad. I'm like, oh, I love Biden. I'm so glad he's in office. Oh, this is so exciting, because I know it's coming next, right? So earlier that morning, slightly after 8 a.m., and before walking out to say goodbye, Trump actually signed martial law into effect in the United States, which would have actually made Biden an illegitimate president for the 9,764th reason, right? But so I did get a copy of that at the Hall of Records place, right? That we now have control over, and I was like, that's not a bad idea. But the Space Force basically, in their arrogance, discredited themselves globally when we watched all the way to the end of the inauguration and nothing blew up.
Yep.
So now we said on that Friday night call, right, that news thing we did together, we also told you about Israel, right, and how Israel had basically screwed over China. Well, this is the Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin screwed over China badly. They took every dime they had, pushed them towards a global order, and then said you failed the test. And now they were going after any wealth that was left in Russia, right? We talked about that. Well, the real plan always was to install.
Anybody out there, if you ever run into the cabal and you're convinced and they tell you that you have to go through this series of tests, right? This is their game they play. They're making fun of you, right?
Yeah.
If they tell you got to go find a certain jewel, they have to test your DNA, they have to put you through a series of trials and tribulations to see if you are worthy of the honor to be chosen by the deep state. Listen, it's all BS. Every word of that is designed to get you to do all the work and probably kill you off. Sorry.
So right now, China's the poster child for that. Okay. They are the poster child globally of why you don't follow the deep state's plan, 100-year plan or otherwise, right? So in reality land, I mean, Israel, the Sanhedrin there and the crown, right? Via the crown and all their other arms and legs have always controlled the world, right? So why not do it in the front? Because Israel should be in charge at this time of the Armageddon that we're making for you. Right. So they're going to bring in the Armageddon. And so we did the pestilence, we did the famine thing, right? And so now we're on to war and death, right? So the Space Force was more than happy to be in charge of the war. And they wanted to do that. So the fact that they told every military in the world what they were going to do ahead of time, right? And then the Sanhedrin was so proud of themselves, they started calling all their friends and family saying, we outsmarted you, right? It was hilarious because they called themselves out beforehand. They told us about the hot war with China. They told us that they had already chosen Russia to take China's place. In reality, they just don't know what the hell they're doing and they have nowhere to go. And I'm sorry for the swear. Okay, so they all need to burn in hell. I mean, that's a thing. They say it in church, so I guess it's okay on here, right? All right, so let's go on to the next thing. So their whole thing erupted, and this is not the first time that the Space Force and their global Armageddon plan was interrupted, right? It's happened several times, week after week after week after week. And so they now have zero credibility as being able to command anything. Maybe one of those clapper things. You guys remember those from the 80s? Clap on, yeah, the clapper, literally. Who I'm talking about too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, James, man, asshole. Okay, so let's move on to, I said that on purpose. Yeah, he's still with them. Okay, so let's go on to martial law, right? So Trump basically said, okay, well, there's nothing left I can do. It's up to the military now, and he signs off on it, unbeknownst to Biden. Well, Biden doesn't really want to be there anyway. Now, Biden's been very busy this week installing the Israeli cabinet. Almost every member of his administration, with very few exceptions, is a dual citizen of Israel. Wow, what a shocker. So if you don't believe me, just go look at all his people and then see how many are Jewish and or dual Israeli citizens. And you will find 90% of them are. Okay. So
Right.
that's right.
So basically, it would not be a fair representation, no matter how you slice it, of the people. If you had anything,
The Sanhedrin people, the all hail Lucifer Kushner clan.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So just so you guys get a feel for that, I'm just going to show that real quick. So this is your kind of the first hires here, right?
Yep.
All of them. Now, if all of these were Muslim, if all of these were Christian, if all of these were Satanists, which they are, I mean, that would bring a concern to anyone. That would be, something that you would not be able to trust. I mean, certainly
these people are an insult to the term. They should not even be able to call themselves Jewish.
Right. They're not really Jewish. They're part of the Khazarian Chabad, mafia, right?
Apocalypse program. Yeah.
Right.
Lucifer. Yeah. Bring in Lucifer, the light bringer.
Right. They just take over a label of a suppressed group and then cry racism if you try to discriminate against them, or if you doubt them in any way. You're not allowed to, right? That's the whole point.
Yeah.
That's the power of pretending to be something that you're not all the time, and playing the victim all the time.
That's right. Okay, so, all right, so that gave me an idea, right? So that got sent off for ratification first. It came through on the line, that is the Hall of Records line, right? And I was like, well, we never ratified, global martial law, right? This could both unify our militaries and how do we pull this off, right? So I thought about it for a second. I was like, well, Biden's already the illegitimist of illegitimate presidents ever in the history of presidents, right? He's basically installing Israel. We have the Israeli invasion right now in Washington, D.C. Everybody's running around, what the heck happened, what went on, so on and so forth. So I'm watching the inauguration with our friends, the core team. And I'm just laughing and smiling, and everybody's like, well, what's going on? What's going on? I'm like, nothing. Yeah. Wow, Biden did. Oh, look, nothing happened. Nothing blew up. Isn't that great? We're laughing and joking. So, all right. So to continue on with the story, right? So then the Biden inauguration papers come in, right?
Yeah. You want to show those too? Yeah.
So I had fun. I mean, it's not too bad for 2 days, right? 3 days now. What are we?
I'm looking forward to them actually following through. We've been in many situations like this where we've negotiated, trying to watch them flake, right? I'm counting on this once in a lifetime opportunity that the military leaders have, that they can completely redeem and restore their honor.
Yeah.
To me, there is
not only for themselves, but to all of the soldiers, the veterans, right, that have gone to these useless Sanhedrin wars and, lost family members and everything else. It's time that they show that they found out who the real enemy is, right? And they defeat the real enemy.
What an incredible opportunity for the gladiators to rise up and take down Caesar, right? Like, you're no longer slaves anymore. You're no longer servants to a broken system of people that want to kill you, who look
bad parents.
Yeah, bad parents that see you as weapons instead of people. That's an incredible, or just lost. They don't even care. Or just, a bag of meat. So
for once, you can believe in what you're fighting for.
Yeah, I love that. Anything else, Kim? I mean, I know there's more, but anything else today?
I don't know. I'm sure there's more, but that's about all I can remember off the top of my head. It was a long week. I mean, yeah.